Deputy Editor, India Today, Kunal Pradhan, Senior Journalist, Pradeep Magazine, and former India cricketer Nikhil Chopra with me in the studio to talk more about this. Kunal, let me come to you first. Sunil Gavaskar's name has been proposed. Now, many would find that very interesting. Nobody really knows where it came up from. But apparently, he has said that he is open to this. He's saying that as an opening batsman, you have to be ready for all challenges. Your opinion on his name, because he has accepted he's on the payroll of the BCCI.
See, Shivani, it's the court has obviously decided that that you need a reputed cricketer, a person with a name, a person who's done service for India, and they've suggested Gavaskar's name apparently for that reason. I think it's one of the great tragedies of Indian cricket that the moment you stop thinking of Srinivasan, Modi and company, you have to start thinking of Gavaskar, Shastri and people like this, because I think Mr. Sunil Gavaskar, though he was a great cricketer, his role in Indian cricket over the last 2-3 years has been questionable. He has been on the payroll of the BCCI as a commentator. There is obviously nothing to say that he acted on the BCCI's behalf, but there is an implicit conflict of interest that rises when a person is in the payroll of a person and then is asked to comment about its activities. He's a newspaper columnist, he's a television commentator, he's one of India's top opinion makers on cricket. So if that person is on the payroll of the BCCI, it is implicit, and a conflict of interest is not a scandal. If we could prove that Gavaskar did X because he's on BCCI payroll, it would be a scandal. A conflict of interest is when there is a possibility that he could do it for this reason.
There's doubt.
There is doubt, and that's a conflict of interest. That's what you remove from the system.
And that's exactly what the Supreme Court is going after, really.
Yeah, exactly.
When it's talking about
I think, like I said, it's one of the great tragedies that we've taken the name of a person who's himself involved with the BCCI. And if all BCCI contracts under Mr. Srinivasan need to be examined, then even the contract made with him needs to be examined. So, at a point where he should be subject of an investigation into all of BCCI's transactions, that is the order of the day right now. It must happen. That is the next step. Then it is kind of tragic that he is the person who's going to be the interim chief looking into that.
One was expecting maybe he wouldn't be so interested in taking this up given his very clear conflict of interest, but he suggested he's open to it. Pradeep, the bigger question is actually about the Indian captain. Pradeep, I was asking you about the Indian captain. We don't want, this doubt, cloud of doubt to be on the team while it is playing in a World Cup, away from the country. And unfortunately, it has happened. Unfortunately, both Mahendra Singh Dhoni and others involved in this have never really chosen to, come out and actually explain this situation or take responsibility for it. Moving on, what needs to be done from the captain himself and from the BCCI on this situation?
No, moving on, see, replacing one person with another person is not going to help. I think it's now Supreme Court what it decides. I am sure that it will probably tell the Indian board to form a panel of eminent people who could suggest.
Pradeep, sir, you want to continue your thought? You're saying the court should appoint a committee overlooking the BCCI affairs, and would you also say a CBI probe should be ordered into the match-fixing allegations?
Before I say that, Mr. Shukla says that let the Supreme Court, we'll wait for what they say. I think they should say that let Supreme Court run the Indian cricket. See, if the courts have to intervene and remind them what is their responsibility and what they should be doing, and even after the court passes observations, they defy it. It just shows, it just reflects that Mr. Shukla, instead of apologizing, saying that look, we have done wrong things, and the board should sit together and decide its future course of action. They are still saying let the court decide, let the court decide. So I would say the Supreme Court should decide on how the Indian board should function. Left to the Indian board, it will always function like this. It will just replace one power group with another.
All right, Nikhil, do you think that even now the BCCI or the bigwigs in the BCCI are basically playing the waiting game as they have always played? They're perhaps hoping that they don't have to take on Srinivasan on their own. Let the court only handle it, like Pradeep said. Then let the court only run the board.
Yeah, but it'll be difficult. It's unfortunate that it's come to that. But at the end, I guess now the rest of the members of the board, I'm sure, would be very quick in probably taking a decision of what the next step would be. Don't forget, the most important thing is why this has gone to this level is we still need to get to the bottom of the IPL betting scam. and the involvement of whoever the players are. Like you just put that point, should there be a CBI inquiry or any other independent investigative agency? I think it's a must. Now that you've come so close to actually cleaning up the entire working of the IPL and so on and so forth, I think it's important to get to the bottom of that and maybe clean it up completely.
Yes, Kunal, even Shashank Manohar made this point. Order a CBI probe. Srinivasan should quit, not just step aside, and let the season 7 be scrapped. What's the big deal if one season is not played? It's not like the national team is not playing.
Yeah. Shivani, see, I think the BCCI has an instinct for self-preservation that few other bodies in this country have. They have been attacked over and over again for the last 20 years. But they always come out of it. They, make an example of the person who has been caught with his hand in the cookie jar and then move on as if there's no problem. So, cleaning up Indian cricket cannot be left to the BCCI. I think if there's any lesson we have learned over the last 15, 20 years, it has to be this. Somebody has to come from outside and clean up this mess. The BCCI is not going to do it on its own. They're going to replace one president with another president, but they're going to continue to function as this cozy club of 30 people who hate all outsiders. The BCCI, I can guarantee you, is going to deeply, deeply, be against the Sunil Gavaskar's nomination by the court. Not for any other reason, but that he is not a part of their cozy club. Everybody in that cozy club has a vote. Everybody in that cozy club knows how to scratch the other person's back to get his own back scratched. It has been working like this for decades. And ever since money came into cricket with television, etc., the pie has gotten big. You've got politicians, you've got businessmen. Somebody needs to come and break this clique. It has to be done. It is up to the court now to not stop at this. Do not leave it at Srinivasan. Make an example of him, but enter this mess, make it transparent, bring RTI, order a probe, and just get everybody involved to book and set a system in place so that the next people who come have to follow it, like all businesses have to follow guidelines. There is corruption in business despite that. There's corruption in politics despite that. But here you are allowing $1 billion industry to run absolutely unregulated.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The only hope we had even before this first hearing was done, that only the Supreme Court can really set this straight. It's been called a media trial for a year now by Srinivasan, as if no questions had any substance, and the only hope once again is that the Supreme Court will set the house in order. More or less, everybody is just saying, Kunal, that let's wait what the Supreme Court does. So the point that Pradeep also made, that then let the Supreme Court handle it. Do you think that even now, even today, you heard Ravi Sawant, you heard Ajay Shirke, he might not be a member right now, but you heard Niranjan Shah. The talk is still, let's come together, let's do something, but there's lethargy in the system. Nobody really wants to get their hands dirty.
Absolutely. See, they're hoping that the Supreme Court, like I was saying before, is going to deal with Srinivasan and stop at that. And that, the systems that they have set in place to manage, how cricket is run in India and how they take care of each other is they'll not go into that. So the best thing is, you can't control what the Supreme Court says. So you just keep quiet, lay low, say the court is going to decide, and just hope that, it's going to stop at that.
Yeah.